The whole discussion has been really interesting, and I agree with everything that's been said, so I'll try not to repeat too much, but just a couple of things I wanted to address. I mean, a few people have mentioned the anti-trade union laws and things like secondary picketing, for example, and other things that we now technically have to abide by. There's some rule about no more than 6 people on a picket, and no braziers. Someone called the fire brigade out on another university's brazier. Not ours, thankfully. So there are all these rules that we are technically supposed to abide by. As an individual, I have suggested that one of my colleagues who lives in Warwick should join the Warwick UCU picket lines, because it's much easier for her than travelling to Leicester every day. And we would welcome anyone on our picket lines. They are supporters, not picketers, and we will find loopholes wherever possible to get around these ridiculous archaic laws. Many of you will have had messages from you inviting you to our pickets, so I completely believe we should find as many ways as possible around the secondary picketing nonsense. Linked to that, though, is a very big issue that our union has failed to address, which is that people who are on, forgive me if I get this wrong, tier 2 visas, people who are here working from other countries, if they have more than 10 days unauthorised absence from work in a consecutive row, they will be reported to the Home Office. And this is part of the reason why we staggered our strike. I should have explained at the start. Part of the reason we did 2 days and 3 days and 4 days and 5 days meant that they were never out for 10 consecutive days. It's up to the employer whether or not they report them to the Home Office, and we have fought locally very hard to get a guarantee from our university that they won't report our tier 2, I will have to check that, I think it's tier 2 visa staff to the Home Office about this. Nationally, our union, I will say, personally, I believe has been rubbish at clarifying this situation, because I think this is probably the first time this has ever really come up on action like this, and I think it's disgusting that people can face the risk of deportation for taking part in trade union activity, legitimately taking part in trade union activity. So I think that's something that people here need to be aware of and need to campaign on, and it's an outrage, absolutely disgusting. Someone mentioned local politicians, and I must say I have been disappointed, perhaps unsurprisingly, in the lack of support we have received from our local politicians. John Ashworth ran past our picket lines a couple of times and did speak on the final day. I heckled him as he ran past. John, are you going to come and have a chat? And he ran faster. He did come speak to us on the final day, and Ross Woolmer has been very supportive, so I should say that I'm not branding them all with the same brush, but aside from that, I've received very little support. Liz Kendall, well, I didn't even bother contacting Keith Allen, I must confess. Liz Kendall never ever got back to me, so I suppose this is of no surprise to anyone here, but I was somewhat disappointed that we can't even get behind our university staff. So, I would agree with everything that's been said there. How can we fight this when we know that our politicians are removed? Likewise, I agree with all the comments about trade unions perhaps being led by people who do not understand the issues of the workers within their unions. I don't want to insult my union very much, but everything that's been said here is very fair. I believe that the General Secretary of my union is keen to get the strike action suspended as fast as possible, and not keen to see a resolution to the dispute. She's been in position for probably around 10 or 15 years now, and last year was the first time that anyone ever stood against her, which says something about the system. Probably a left candidate, Joe McNeill, who I personally perhaps would have favoured over the person we've got at the minute, and I think this is coming out now in our current strike action, that we're seeing that actually our leadership are putting deals to us that we don't even believe are satisfactory to talk to us about, never mind ballot us on. So I think that's an issue, definitely within trade unions. And finally, I think another big issue within trade unions at the minute is we're very much in our own silos, and I think a lot of unions only care about the issues that affect their union. And so UCU have very typically been only concerned with education, and other unions. UCU is obviously a slightly different union because we do represent university workers, where some other unions are perhaps a little bit broader than that. An example of this is I took a motion to my branch about Catalan, because I felt quite strongly about this and wanted our branch to take a position on it, irrespective of what the position was. Many members of my branch argued that I had no right to expect Leicester UCU to have an opinion on something which was an international matter. Now, in my opinion, this was a matter of utmost importance for unions more generally to have an opinion on. And I think that this is a problem not just within my union, and I'm not using this as an example to pick on the people that spoke against me, I'm using this as an example that we're also concerned sometimes with our own little faction of society, that we forget to see the bigger picture, which is, as you all know, is austerity and cuts and attacks on the NHS, attacks on our education system, and you know, all the issues that we've got from having this Tory government at the moment. I think the trade unions particularly, I think they're starting to learn, I think they're starting to mobilise more, I think the individual branches definitely speak out more, but I think the leadership perhaps needs to change, so I would agree with all the comments about that.